Man, this gallery episode was awesome. I can't wait to see what Star Wars fans are saying about this online.
What have I done?
What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerdventures Tower, and this one should be a fun one. Star Wars fans, this is why we can't have nice things.
This is where the fun begins.
After a very entertaining documentary-style episode of The Gallery that showed us the behind-the-scenes of bringing Luke Skywalker back in his prime in The Mandalorian Season 2, well, Star Wars Twitter had an absolute meltdown. And this all had to do with Dave Filoni's thoughts on Luke Skywalker's lightsaber style and his power level for the time. He was talking about bringing Luke back into the fold and just some of the observations he had about how to respect the power level of Luke while also making it make sense in the story. And here's the line right here. Here's what he said.
Ahsoka's technique should be very different. And technically, she's had vastly more training than he ever has.
What did he say?
Now, I do want to mention that many fans took this and had very reasonable responses to this, including my brother Star Wars Theory, who I thought broke it down in a really great video. You see, at face value, this makes total sense. Ahsoka is a prequel-era Jedi, and she was trained by a bunch of the great masters in more or less the prime of the Jedi Order. She was also the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker, and she was very gifted at saber combat. A lot of people say that Ahsoka is one of the best lightsaber duelists in Star Wars. But it's also really fair to point out that this is peak Luke Skywalker, which is something that Dave obviously brings up. The implied idea is that Luke is much stronger here than he was in Return of the Jedi. And although he is very strong and fluid with his motions, they wanted to show that his knowledge of lightsaber combat is more simplistic than a character like Ahsoka. But it's really just that one little line that Dave said about Ahsoka being Luke's better in many ways that caused Star Wars Twitter to lose their minds.
Then everyone loses their minds.
And you basically had Star Wars fans dissolving into social media arguments, giving their take on why they liked Ahsoka or Luke more, why Ahsoka or Luke was more powerful, and this ultimately ended up with a lot of people talking about who would win in a lightsaber or a Force fight. Now, before I give my take on this, and trust me, I do have a juicy take on this, I do want to point out that while a lot of people might just dismiss this thing, dismiss that this happened on social media, it sort of continues to indicate that thing I've been talking about for a while, and that is that the discourse among fans and Lucasfilm 2 fans is really, really broken, and in my opinion, Lucasfilm has not done enough to try to bridge those gaps or have fun with the situation at hand. Technically, there's people that are making videos about it, like this one, that I think do a better job of sort of talking about this issue that's happening on social media, giving a fair shake to everybody, and just having more of a real conversation about what is going on. Lucasfilm seems to be ignoring that these things happen, and then sometimes you'll have people from Lucasfilm come in and side on one side of these different arguments, which really gives this overall take that they are picking sides and that there are portions of the fan base that they just generally don't like. And it seemed to be that everybody was retreating to their usual sides of these Star Wars argument, with the toxic man-baby type people saying that Luke is best and strongest and best at everything, and then a whole bunch of whiny, toxic people on the other side saying that Luke is overrated and that fanboys suck, Ahsoka is queen. There's a couple of things that I want to point out within this argument that I find really hilarious. Number one, the idea of taking a quote out of an episode on Disney Plus that is talking about another episode on Disney Plus, all surrounding this character of Luke Skywalker and what a big freaking deal that is, and to take a quote within that thing and try to somehow besmirch Luke Skywalker is stupid. Luke is the whole reason that the end of the season of Mandalorian was awesome. He's the whole reason that you're doing a whole gallery episode on his return. He's such a big freaking deal for the franchise that it made this massive impact. It's just why this is so pop culturally relevant in this moment. And I just find it hilarious that within this moment, some people are trying to throw dirt on Luke Skywalker's name or besmirch him in some way. Now, this goes back to, I think, a lot of the conflict and drama surrounding the sequel trilogy. One of the major complaints by many people about the sequel trilogy, including Mark Hamill, is the fact that the portrayal of Luke Skywalker was just not that great. And again, there were a ton of people within this discussion of the fans that kind of wanted to say, screw Luke Skywalker, or he's not that big of a deal, or if you just fanboy over Luke Skywalker, you suck and you're not a good fan. You're being toxic with your love of Luke Skywalker. It's like this whole thing is hilarious to me. Luke's the main character of Star Wars. He's the big time hero. He's the one that defeats Vader. Now, he does defeat Vader by throwing down his lightsaber, but he's beating him at combat before he stops. He could have killed his father. That's part of the point. And so without singling anybody out, I just want to say, if you're one of those fans online that kind of hates Luke Skywalker and wants to throw dirt on Luke's name or try to claim that Luke's not a great character or something like that, you seriously suck. And I really do wish, in all honesty, 100% transparency, that you would leave the fandom. But it's also stupid that people don't understand what Dave is saying in this moment. What he is saying makes sense. And by the way, it shows that he's thinking about these things. He wants to respect these things that came before him. And being a big Star Wars sweaty and the protege of George Lucas, I'm just seeing all these different signals that this is a guy we can trust. This is a guy that's going to take this really seriously. And I feel good as a fan even having him explain this issue. Because, of course, dude, yeah, Ahsoka's great, and she was trained phenomenally. And I think her episode in The Mandalorian Season 2 holds up right there with the Luke one. The Luke one's just a little bit better. But yes, Ahsoka, amazing character, very powerful, and what Dave was saying made sense. And there's all these people out there that get triggered anytime Dave Filoni says something just a little bit off of their narrative, like everything Luke in old school Star Wars is better than everything else, and they want to besmirch Dave Filoni and say that he doesn't know Star Wars, that he's going to take us down a similar road to like Kathy Kennedy or whatever. It just, again, the wider point here is that Star Wars discourse and the fan base is really broken. I mean, they're my favorite group of people that hate loving the thing that they love. It's kind of amazing. And here's my take on it. I don't even think you have to think about it that hard to know who would win in a fight between Ahsoka and Luke. It is so obviously Luke that it's not even funny. And I think you just look at the episodes. Look at Ahsoka's episode and look at how she was able to fight, the power level of people that she interacted with, and then look at what Luke does. And sure, his style is simplistic. He was not trained by prequel-era Jedi. He has basically one form that I think he adapts a little bit. He's not as flashy as Ahsoka, but he is so in tune with the Force and obviously so strong. I mean, did you see him just Force crush that freaking robot? That was crazy. It is obvious that Ahsoka is not completely comfortable with her place in the Force or the Force at large. She's not a big fan of the Jedi. I think there's a lot of conflict with her and her place in the galaxy and the cosmic Force. But Luke is not at that place. Luke is in his prime and is so deeply connected to the Force at this moment that I just think it's obvious that if they were to meet in combat, Luke would wipe the floor with her. And that's despite her being a lot more skilled. And I think her skill and level within the Force would allow her to really hold her own. But this is the thing. I think if you made Luke just take off basically all his reason and protectiveness and being a good person, right? If we actually cloned Luke and got Luke, right, which might happen, that evil version of Luke would destroy Ahsoka, would absolutely demolish Ahsoka. And with just wanting to cause her pain, his level of knowledge and power within the Force, I think, dwarfs hers completely. But obviously, they're really probably not going to fight. And even if they do, you know, sort of arguments like this in the fandom are normal and fine. I just think it gets really crazy that we have all this sort of dirty laundry and all these like PTSD type battle scars of all the horrible conflicts that happened during the sequel trilogy, and there's just a lot of people that continue to be super toxic about these situations on both sides of the fandom, of course. But that's kind of my thoughts on the whole situation. I think Luke would absolutely demolish Ahsoka. I think Luke is more powerful, and by the way, I think that's kind of what Dave is trying to imply here. And if we really are going the direction that I think we're going to go with the heir to the Empire stuff coming, Luke is going to be in his prime doing amazing, incredible things and being way above everybody else in power level, which is part of the reason I think he will ultimately want to exit. And after Ben, betrays him, he wants to just stay on the sidelines. He probably fears the power he has, the power that he helped Ben cultivate, et cetera, et cetera. So That's kind of my thoughts and just kind of a fun summary of all the drama out there. Let me know what you thought about it. And are you Team Ahsoka? Are you Team Luke? Are you Team Let's Just Love Star Wars? Whatever you're thinking, let me know in the comment section below. Like this video if you like the content, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of our videos pop up in your feed. And you're definitely going to want to go check out our live streaming channel where I live stream all the freaking time talking about these nerdy things. Come on by with your questions or anger. Let the hate flow through you. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.